Welcome to the Eye Opener. I'm your host, Michael Lewis. Controversial antivirus software tycoon John McAfee was found dead in a Spanish prison. Autopsy rules that he committed suicide, but McAfee left a message that might suggest otherwise. We've gotten used to hearing conservatives being banned on social media, but can you imagine a left-wing group also getting censored? New Hampshire is joining the patriotic pushback to ban critical race theory in schools. However, in Virginia, high schools are enrolling students under a revised equity admission process. Arizona Republicans are seeking to strip Secretary of State Katie Hobbs' power in handling election lawsuits. Okay, my friends, let's take a closer look together. Tonight we start off with the life story and tragic end of one John David McAfee. On June 23rd, the 75-year-old antivirus tycoon reportedly committed suicide by hanging in a Spanish prison cell. But was it really suicide? Before we get into that, let's give you a little bit of a background. McAfee made his mark in the late 80s with McAfee Associates, a software company that was once the gold standard of consumer computer security. In 1994, he left the company. He then started a series of business ventures that were all sort of short-lived. McAfee made headlines in 2012 when he was wanted for questioning in the death of his neighbor, Gregory Fall. McAfee said he believed he was the target, but the assassins went to the wrong house. In 2020, McAfee unsuccessfully ran for the Libertarian Party's nomination for president and was investigated by the IRS for tax felonies. He was then arrested in Spain for multi-million-dollar tax evasions in October. The DOJ accused him of failing to report income and selling his life story rights for a documentary. McAfee argued the charges against him were politically motivated and he would spend the rest of his life in prison if he was sent back to the U.S. The cybersecurity tycoon had predicted his fate. In November 2019, he explained why he got a tattoo that said "whacked." McAfee said he got a subtle message from U.S. officials who said they were coming for him and were going to make it look like a suicide. McAfee got the tattoo to remind people that if he suicides, he had been whacked. His death came only hours after a Spanish court ruled he would be extradited to the United States. This just looks suspicious. McAfee could have chosen to appeal the ruling, and the final extradition still would need Spanish cabinet's approval. On June 25th, his widow, Janice McAfee, demanded a thorough investigation into his death. She said McAfee didn't appear suicidal when they last spoke, and his last words to her was, "I love you, and I'll call you in the evening." In fact, 3 days before McAfee's death, Janice issued a long message warning there are people who want him dead. She wrote, "I know John is an extremely polarizing individual, but I also know, as well as any of you who follow him on Twitter, that he has always been honest about who he is. Always. Sometimes too honest." Now, the U.S. authorities are determined to have John die in prison to make an example of him for speaking out against the corruption within their government agencies. Janice also commented on the nature of McAfee's case. She said, "Before you were innocent until proven guilty, but somehow that has changed to guilty until proven innocent." Now, anyone can level the most heinous accusations against you without any proof and having no basis in reality, but in the court of public opinion, you are tried, convicted, found guilty. We can't comment more on McAfee's case, but similar things have happened to politicians in the aftermath of the last presidential election. You're guilty until proven innocent. That corrupt approach happens all too often. Guess who has the most far-left education agenda? Nope, it's not Gavin Newsom's California or Andrew Cuomo's New York. It's Virginia. Democrats control the governorship, the House, and the Senate. It's a trifecta. However, it wasn't until 2020 that Virginia Democrats took full control. In just a little over a year, everyone is shocked at how quickly the state drastically veered in one direction: left. A couple of months ago, we reported Virginia was exploring plans to end advanced diplomas in the name of racial equity. Its education department is also considering a massive math curriculum revamp that would remove all accelerated math courses before the 11th grade. Instead of creating opportunities for students to excel in academics, the department favors lowering standards and promoting mediocrity. In response to the left's equity push, school district officials in Fairfax ended merit-based entrance exams in an attempt to boost diversity. As a result, Thomas Jefferson High School, one of the country's best public schools with a STEM focus, for example, added about 60 spots for the freshman class to 550 this year. However, even with this expansion, Asian student admissions dropped 60%, while white student admissions increased by 43%, and all other minority groups combined basically tripled. This certainly will fuel Asian Americans' anger over the unfairness. Last December, the district placed a cap on the number of students each middle school could send to Thomas Jefferson. In particular, the cap negatively impacts 3 Fairfax middle schools that have predominant Asian American populations and are known for fielding students to TJ. For this reason, a parent group called Coalition for Thomas Jefferson sued Fairfax County Public Schools in March. The parents argue that the updated admissions process unconstitutionally targeted Asian American students. You can see here that equity is not fair. When a school fails to recognize its best and brightest, it doesn't produce excellence. Critical race theory or the wokeness push from left prompts red states to make real efforts protecting children and American values. In the latest development of resisting anti-American indoctrination in schools, New Hampshire signed a 2-year budget bill into law. The new law, like many other of its kind, largely follows an executive order by former President Trump. It prohibits teaching critical race ideas that New Hampshire or the United States is fundamentally racist or sexist, a certain race or sex is inherently oppressive, or individuals should feel discomfort or guilt for their race or sex. With that said, the law still allows teachers to present these divisive concepts objectively without endorsement to uphold the principles of academic freedom and freedom of speech. This is important. The left typically cancels everything it disagrees with. But how would you know whether something is right or wrong if it's not even accessible? The $13.5 billion budget package also establishes a voucher-like Education Freedom Account program. Families will be able to use state aid to cover the expense of private and homeschooling. While the coronavirus and its economic fallout are expected to fade throughout the year, there are new challenges ahead for the U.S. economy. 2 sectors that saw sales boom throughout the pandemic, housing and auto markets, are on the brink of slowing due to strained supplies. The imbalance between supply and demand has pushed prices much higher in both markets. But it's not just durable goods that are facing dire shortage. There are bottlenecks across key supply chains hitting products ranging from semiconductors to ketchup. With the Fed bringing forward 2 interest rate hikes in 2023, economists are predicting inflation will be more significant than expected. With that said, let me introduce our sponsor for today's show, American Hartford Gold. With American Hartford Gold, you can purchase physical gold and silver and have it delivered right to your door or in your IRA account, making it extremely easy. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and thousands of satisfied clients, Hartford is one of the highest rated firms in the country. And most importantly, and I stress, because you're a subscriber to the Eye Opener Show, if you call them right now, they will give you up to $1,500 free silver on your first order. So don't wait and take advantage of this special offer. The number to call is 866-880-0328, or you can simply text Mike to 65532. I've also included a link to their website in the description below. So let me grab my mug that matters and thank American Hartford Gold for sponsoring today's Eye Opener Show and helping our mission to deliver truthful news. Salute. Conservatives have been consistently censored on social media. What came as a real surprise, a left-wing group also got canceled. Yesterday, YouTube took down the official channel of Right Wing Watch for severe or repeated violations of community guidelines. Right Wing Watch is considered an internet bully. The group allegedly monitors disinformation, conspiracies, and violent rhetoric from right-wing media outlets and conservatives. Launched in 2010, its channel, RWW Blog, posted thousands of clips with 50 million views. Reportedly, the group also pressured big tech in the past to censor its political rivals. In fact, Videos of right-wing watch have been flagged and removed a number of times for policy violations. Ironically, many right-wing outlets and personalities the group exposed have their own YouTube channels that haven't been suspended. In April, YouTube handed out 2 strikes to the channel. Right Wing Watch had to stop posting until the strikes expired 90 days later. According to the group's senior member, Kyle Mantila, the 3rd strike that shut the channel down came last week. An official response from YouTube states, "We have permanently removed your channel from YouTube. Going forward, you won't be able to access, possess, or create any other YouTube channels." Their appeal to reverse the suspension was also denied. An email reply from YouTube reads, "Thank you for your account suspension appeal. We have decided to keep your account suspended." This is quite some news. A left-wing group ousted from social media? The suspension quickly went viral among conservative communities. Only the excitement was short-lived. A few hours after the news came out, YouTube sent out a new email to the group reinstating the channel. The email reads, quote, "Sometimes we make mistakes trying to get it right." The suspension was lifted. By no means did it look like a mistake. The channel had 3 strikes within 90 days and the appeal had been denied. It seems there was a big push to reinstate the channel behind the scenes. In fact, it wasn't necessarily a bad thing to have this channel up on YouTube. Most of the videos posted are commentaries from independent conservative journalists. I checked out some and didn't find them extreme. In a way, Right Wing Watch helps spread conservative messages to liberal audiences, a group of people conservatives have been struggling to reach. That's something the left does not want to see, so think of it that way. Independent journalism is thriving in the country as the public's trust in mainstream media has hit a low point. In a recent study, Reuters Institute ranks the United States last in media trust among 46 nations. The 2021 report concludes trust in the news has grown by 6 percentage points in the wake of the pandemic globally, but the United States is certainly an exception. While Finland remains the country with the highest level of trust at 65%, America has the lowest level at 29%. Overall interest in news has declined sharply in the United States, 11% from last year. About half of Americans are now not interested in the news. The report suggests many Trump supporters turned away from news altogether following the election of Joe Biden. Almost all of this decrease came from those on the political right. This reflects some intense level of political polarization in America today. Yet legacy media from both right and left like Fox News and CNN have lost a significant chunk of their audience. Longtime journalist and legacy media critic Glenn Greenwald called the report extraordinary, though unsurprising. He said the corporate sector of the U.S. media is failing in every respect. Financially, culturally, collapsing trust. Any other industry failing like this would engage in self-critique, asking why. They never do. How to re-engage audience interest will be a big challenge for media companies. However, the Reuters report also issued a warning that resorting to sensationalism is not an option. It damages trust. So you would expect CNN's post-Trump presidency scheme to sell fear in climate change will eventually backfire.
Focus was to get Trump out of office, right? Without saying it, that's what it was, right? So our next thing is going to be for climate change awareness.
Do you think it's going to be just like a lot of fear, like climate?
Yeah, fear sells. Fear sells.
The Arizona audit wrapped up paper examination and ballot counting on June 25th. On a different front, the Republican-controlled state legislature moved to strip power from Democratic Secretary of State Katie Hobbs in handling election-related lawsuits. The GOP wants to hand that authority to Republican Attorney General Mark Brnovich's office instead. Hobbs has been a huge obstacle during the Arizona audit. She made numerous unsuccessful attempts to shut it down. Now the measure to revoke her power is contained in a budget reconciliation bill. It reads, "The Attorney General has sole authority in all election litigation to direct the defense of election laws, to appeal or petition any decision, and to intervene on behalf of the state at any stage, until the end of Hobbs' term." The measure also bars the Attorney General's office from providing legal advice or representing the Secretary of State. It prohibits Hobbs from using public funds to hire lawyers for election litigation and limits her to hiring one full-time legal advisor. The move came amid 2+ years of friction between the Republican attorney generals and the Democratic Secretary of State, largely around their positions on election law and related litigation. The discord between the two reached a new level after Hobbs filed state bar complaints against Brnovich, his chief deputy, and other lawyers at the Attorney General's office last year. The budget reconciliation bill has reached Governor Doug Ducey's desk, who hasn't given an opinion on it yet. And that's it for today, my friends. Check out the playlist right here for more eye-opening content. You can join me in the Eye Opener Telegram chat room and follow me on Newmaker, Gab, and Parler. Don't forget, please sign up to the email list so we can stay in touch. I'd like to thank you all, and I'll see you next time.